Have you ever wanted to talk to a senior leader, but your hands start sweating, or you think, what if I say something dumb? Or why would they even want to talk to me? First, stop. Your brain is lying to you. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the exact 3-step blueprint to talk to anyone, no matter how high up they are. And by the end of this video, you won't just know what to say, you'll actually feel confident enough to say it. And stick around until the end, because I'm sharing the one magic question that makes every executive want to keep talking to you. Now, most people think that senior leaders are like scary guards at a castle. When I started at one of the big four, talking to a partner who was basically a C-level executive was like talking to a celebrity. They'd often have people around them looking for their attention. So when one of them actually spoke to me, I got a little tongue-tied. And needless to say, that wasn't the best first impression. And has something like that happened to you? Well, drop it in the comments. Now, here's the surprising secret I've discovered speaking to hundreds of senior leaders. Most of them are actually lonely. Not because they don't speak to people, because they don't speak to enough people who genuinely want to know about them. Yep, they spend all day talking to the other bosses or their reports who need approval or to be told what to do, or even some of the suck-ups who hope the partner could influence their next promotion. Everyone wants to connect with them because of their title, but they rarely get to hear from someone who's actually curious about them as a person, not them as a senior leader. So, what if that person was you? Now, before we get to the blueprint, we need to fix your mindset and warm you up a little. So you might feel nervous or intimidated to connect with a senior leader. But you're not connecting with a celebrity or a supernatural being. You're connecting with another human. Harvard researcher Alison Woodbrooks studied exactly what you're feeling right now. Before an important meeting, people get sweaty palms and their hearts start racing. And her finding was that trying to calm yourself down doesn't work nearly as well as relabeling it. You want to go from "I'm nervous" to "I'm excited." The same physical sensations in your body, but a completely different mindset. People who made that switch perform better, they felt more confident, and treated the moment as an opportunity instead of a threat. So before you have that conversation, don't try to calm down. Reframe it instead. Say it out loud if you have to. "I'm excited." And don't keep it just in your head. Let it show. A genuine smile, open posture, leaning in slightly when you talk, those micro behaviors tell them you're actually glad to be there before you've even said a single word. Now, let's get you to warm up and do your reps. Here's a pre-step before you put the blueprint into action. Put in some practice reps. After all, you wouldn't go into the World Cup without a few practice matches, right? Don't start with the senior managing director. Instead, start with someone 1 year above you. Yes, the intimidation factor won't be the same, but back to the sports analogy. Wouldn't you want to first practice with the local team before going against the national champions? And what you really want to practice is the art of conversation. And I'm not talking about small talk and chit chat. If you need help with that, let me know in the comments and I'll do another video on it. What I'm talking about is navigating a conversation. And that starts with a skill that nobody actually trains: listening. There are actually 5 types of listening, from level 1, just waiting for your turn to talk, all the way to level 5, actually confirming you understood exactly what they meant. Now, most people live at level 2 or 3, what was said and how it was said. So the goal for your reps is to get yourself to a level 4 or 5 before you talk to the bigger fish. Level 4 is listening for what's not being said. Level 5 is the actual confirmed meeting. And one more step before we go to step 1. This blueprint isn't for messaging every senior leader you can find. You want to pick one person whose path or work actually piques your curiosity. That's who you research next. Now, let's get to the real work. I'm going to assume you already arranged the meeting. So step 1 is to do your homework. You wouldn't go to a test without studying, right? So don't go to a meeting with a senior executive without research. Look at their LinkedIn. Google them. Use AI to research them. what about their background is intriguing to you? Have they written posts or shared any articles recently? Did they just win an award? Maybe they attended a conference. Your research goal is to find something interesting about them, but keep it professional. Don't stalk them on Instagram or Facebook. Now, a senior leader's time is valuable. When I was at the Big Four, a partner would bill for hundreds of dollars an hour. So you want to make that 15 minutes count and worth their while. Don't be the person who says, "Hi, can I pick your brain?" Which, by the way, is probably one of the worst things you can say. Instead, try this. "I saw your topic about post or topic, and I love what you said about the details that you read. It made me think about my own work in a new way, and what experience shaped that insight." Now you see the difference? It just turned a superficial meeting into a real conversation. This research should get you past the generic questions and into genuine curiosity. Now, how many questions do you want to prepare? In 15 minutes, you might only get through 3 to 5, especially if you follow the inquiry technique I'll share with you later. But you want to prepare 10 questions just in case. Now wait, before I show you how to handle the actual meeting, I have to warn you about the rookie mistake. This is the one thing that kills your chances of a second meeting. The mistake is talking too much about yourself. Yep, while you want the senior leader to know who you are, you should spend only about a third of your time talking and 2/3 of the time listening. As they say, that's why you have one mouth and 2 ears. In step 2, I'm going to show you how to be the best listener they've talked to all year. Plus, how to put the inquiry technique into practice. And finally, get to the magic question from the intro. And remember your reps? That's what we're practicing. All right, so you've done your homework. Now it's meeting day. Before you start the meeting, set a timer to go off 2 minutes before the time allotted. If you're in person, you can even tell them that you're setting it to be respectful of their time. It's a small thing, but it keeps you honest about where you're at. Now here's how you get started. Don't just jump straight into the question. Open by sharing your gratitude and your research. Now do it fast, under 30 seconds. Something like, "First, I really appreciate your time, and I know it's valuable. So I did some research so I could make the most of it. I saw the post, the award, the project, and in it you mentioned something about it, and that's actually why I wanted to talk to you specifically." That's it. You're not reciting all the research you did, but you are proving that you didn't show up empty-handed. Now give them context. Not, "I want some advice," something specific. Something like, "I'm about 18 months into my career, and I've been trying to figure out how successful people like you made the jump from doing the work to leading it." Just one sentence. That's the setup. Then you ask your questions. And here's where your warm-up reps actually pay off. When they answer, don't just nod and wait for your turn. Use those listening levels. Listen for what they're actually saying, not the words. The story underneath the advice. Perhaps what they're not saying outright. And if something surprises you, ask one specific follow-up. That's the inquiry technique we've been practicing. Perhaps you want to explore their thought process. What were you thinking at the time? Or how did you decide between choosing from A or B? Or you can choose to explore the emotion behind it. That must have been tough, was it? An interesting side note is that emotions are what make us connect because they're shared human experiences. As in, you might not know what it's like to run a multi-million-dollar business, but you know what it's like to be stressed when something isn't going right and relieved when it finally is. When you inquire about those emotions, you go deeper. And when you go deeper than the surface, that's when real connection happens. And along the way, you might just find that the senior leader wasn't so different from you when they started out. Now, when the timer goes off, you can say, "Looks like we're almost out of time, and I had one more question with the few minutes that we have left. What's one thing you wish you knew when you were at my level?" That's the magic question. And why does this work so well? Because you just handed them something almost nobody gives a senior leader anymore. The chance to actually mentor someone. Not report to them, not manage around them, but mentor. No matter how senior someone is, they like feeling like a teacher for at least a few minutes. Then after they respond, wrap up the conversation. And if you're lucky, they'll give you extra time. And that's when your extra questions come in handy. But if not, say something like, I know I said 15 minutes, and I want to respect that. This was genuinely helpful, so thank you. I'll definitely reflect on and implement some of what I learned today. Now, ending on time on your own terms is one more thing that makes you memorable for the right reasons. Now, step 3 is the step almost everyone skips, but it's actually also the one that actually separates a one-time conversation from a real relationship. You want to send your follow-up within 24 hours, while it's still fresh for both of you, and keep it short. Thanks for the tip about the topic, and I'm going to try it later this week and let you know how it goes. Notice what that message does. It's not a generic thank you. It names the specific thing that they told you, and it commits to actually doing something about it. That's the difference between someone who collects advice and someone who acts on it. Then, this is the part that almost nobody does. You want to actually follow through. Allocate time on your calendar to do what you said you'd do. Implement the tip. Read the book. Connect with the person. Whatever you said that you'd do. Then after you do it, send one more short message. Update. I tried the thing. Here's what happened. And let me know if you have other suggestions. Otherwise, and then share a good habit related to the thing. That tells them that you listened and you took action. Now, I mentor a lot of people, and one of the worst things they could do is, if I met them later on and ask, hey, did you do the thing that I mentioned before? And they say, yeah, I didn't get the time to do it. Then I know that's someone I don't necessarily want to invest any more time in. And if you want to go from good to unforgettable, Adam Grant describes 3 types of people: givers, matchers, and takers. You started this relationship with an ask and you responded with action, so that already makes you a matcher. But givers are the ones who get remembered. So how can you give to the relationship? Here's one way to start. Send them one thing you genuinely think they'd find useful. Maybe an article related to something that they mentioned. Maybe an introduction to another senior you met who's working on something similar to what they talked to you about. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Now, I know what you're thinking. This senior leader is years, maybe decades ahead of you. They're already doing what you want to be doing. So how could you possibly give to them? And that's exactly what makes this gesture so memorable. So just take a minute to reflect back on the conversation and think of your own way to give. Drop it in the comments if you want some help brainstorming. Now, one quick note, being a giver doesn't mean overextending yourself or becoming a pushover. Grant's own research shows that givers who thrive are the ones who give generously, but still protect their own time and energy. Small and genuine beats big and draining every time. Now, networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about building bridges. You've got the blueprint. Now make it your own and put it into action. If you want to work on the mindset piece before you try this, check out this video here, and YouTube has this video for you next. If this video was helpful, like and subscribe, and until next time, be focused and stay inspired.